Mount Panorama Bathurst, the Tuies 93, laps 76 of 161, 2 hours 57, 58 minutes into the great race. The gap between Mark Scaife and Larry Perkins is shrinking. It's now down to 2 seconds and even less as they came across the line.
The crowd along pit straight know it too. The boy from the bush, he's back in town. Larry Perkins, the kid from Cowangi, showing him how to do it.
They just went over the strip, and the gap is now officially 1.1 seconds. So we have a real contest in our hands, and we should point out that it's only a further 18 seconds back to third place.
Thomas Mazzira.
So it's a fantastic race, and it's about to become even more exciting as the rain complicates the situation.
Well, you can certainly notice on the camera lenses there, Dougie, spots of rain appearing all around the track. Wet tyres being readied in the pits.
Yeah, in fact, the 23 car, the Diet Coke BMW, has wets ready to go on right now.
The report from the weather station is that Orange, which is our closest town to the west, is reporting drizzly conditions, but at Cowra, heavy rain. And it's all coming this way.
And if Mark Scaife's looking in his rear mirror, Larry Perkins is coming his way.
He's been catching him hand over fist round here. This is an incredible battle. 2:15s, low 2-minute 15s. We saw them running on full tanks of fuel in race setup in the final session yesterday. They're doing high 15s. Now they've got a lighter load of fuel. This is in a race. This is a 1,000-kilometre race, folks, and these two are going at it hammer and tongs.
Big day for Holden at Mount Panorama. Chevy-powered number 1 car, Holden-powered number 11 car.
Meanwhile, car 15, the Thomas Mazzira Win Percy car, is scheduled for a stop fairly shortly. They're going back to a softer compound rear tyre. So they're obviously, their lap times may be suffering a little as they try and hone in on this battle for first and second.
And with the likelihood of some real rain in the offing, we ought to mention that Tony Longhurst's BMW car 25 is in 6th position and only just over a lap down on the race leader. So if the heavens open up, that lap won't take long for him to eat into.
Oh, look at Perkins close here.
Yes, he seems to be going much deeper under brakes at this stage.
They make the exit to Caltex Chase. Got a couple of the 2-litre cars coming up in front of them. And the Winfield crew watching. Because Larry has got him in his sights. Across the line. Spectators are alive on pit straight. Make no mistake about that.
Well, that's interesting. Larry's taken a second off Mark Scaife's lap time on that previous lap. And there wasn't a lot of traffic there. So I wonder if there's a problem with the Winfield car. We'll monitor these times closely. But Larry's picked up a full second on him, and in these conditions, that's quite surprising.
I head up Mountain Straight again as the Michael Preston, Brett Peters, Komatsu Falcon EB comes in. Kevin Waldock's car.
It's in 20th position, that car. Larry Perkins in second, but right on the hammer of race leader Mark Scaife.
Look at the performance of this, the Chevy-engined Winfield Commodore versus the traditional old stock block Holden V8 Castrol car.
It's all getting tight at the front of the field in the Tuies 1000, the exit to BP. Coming up, 1 car in the pits. We'll go back to that shortly as we 15. Go to the top. That's 15 in.
All the action's up the top. Larry's right on his hammer across the top of the mountain. There's nothing in this.
He's closing.
Listen to the crowd. Boy, is Larry Perkins popular on top of Mount Panorama. Any year you want to come up here, but boy, this year he is honking. Fastest man throughout qualifying. He set them out in the light. He's doing it again in the race.
Down on the inside, showing Scaife he's there to pass. And Mark doing a fabulous job.
He sure is, but I'll tell you, there'd be a few Chevy engine teams rubbing their heads at the moment. How is he getting this much performance out of an engine which they virtually discarded in the new homologation, thinking it wouldn't be up to the job? Well, Perkins proving them wrong here.
Little dab on the brakes there, little puff of smoke. He just cooked one. But now we'll be able to check these two out for horsepower, because Mark does get out of Forest Elbow very quickly indeed. But Perkins starts to gain on the downhill run to Caltex Chase. You'd say they're about even there. Now watch it from this point. Perkins, foot all the way to the floor. Well, now watch him close down through here.
Look at the performance of this car under brakes. Larry said his brake pad wear from the pits is better than he has expected. The Winfield team, of course, Fred went to the option of putting the GTR brake calipers on the front to increase the braking performance of the car, but Larry's matching it stop for stop. So an absorbing battle both technically and from the driving seat.
It would appear that the Winfield car has marginally more horsepower and top-end speed, and that Larry's able to gather him up under brakes. Andy looks a little flatter, and he's able to take a tighter line through most of the corners.
The secret to these two cars is in their chassis set. I've been watching them all week across the top of the mountain. The Winfield cars, and particularly the Castrol car, keeping 4 tyres on the deck all the time, and that's how you get grip, that's how you get cornering speed, and that's what makes you go so fast. And Larry's obviously got the setup here this weekend. An incredible renaissance for Larry. A Shell series he would rather forget. Developing his own VP Castrol Commodore along with preparing customer cars. It's been a tough haul, but gee, hasn't the Bathurst magic emerged at the right time for this guy? Meanwhile,
it's Matsira back out, isn't it?
Yep, car 15.
It was a long stop.
It was a long stop.
It's put him back to 4th. Very slow pit stop.
Now keep in mind too that the Winfield car has already had its pad change. Perkins yet to make his pad change, and that could be quite critical as the race wears on.
And here's the reason for that long stop. The Matsira car 15, the HRT Commodore, having left front brake problems apparently.
Morris, Winkelhock car into the pits. Paul Morris at the wheel at this stage. Wheels come off. Crew in there had some dramas. Electrical system earlier on.
18th position they were in when they came to the pits on this occasion.
So lost a stack of time. Now Scaife is responding. Previous lap he's dropped back down into the 15s again, a 15.9. Larry's just done a 15.2. So obviously Scaife quicker on some parts of the circuit than Larry, and the gap has opened a little bit on this time around.
0.4829 to be precise. Not much in this.
How close do you like it? 80 laps, almost half distance in the Tooheys 1000 for 1993.
Perkins, the exit to Caltex Chase. And it gives you an idea of the weather coming in. I think we are definitely going to have a little heavy drop or two later on this afternoon. Some sprinkles around the circuit at the moment, as we showed you.
We know your weather maps too. That red means a lot of rain.
Yes.
Yes. Beware the pink bits.
Crowd cheering Larry on as he continues to chip away at this lead of Mark Scaife.
There is the rain. It's just off Mount Panorama and closing almost like a repeat of last year.
Remarkable, it should be so similar.
So Orange is just getting the drizzle, which is probably the front of the storm, while Cowra is coming along behind it with the full-on rain spells. Car 16 is scheduled to pit fairly shortly. They're in 3rd position, of course. And 25, the Longhurst Soper car, is also due for a pit stop. So it's all happening, folks, in the pits and on the track.
Still work going on the 23 Bimmer.
That misfire obviously persisting.
Oh,
That was a different view.
our pole cam, which can get in and show you the action without necessarily having a cameraman exposed to the front of the car.
Paul Morris out. Winkelhock back into the car. Push start and away he goes. Well, I wouldn't have expected these sort of dramas in the BMW camp. As the leaders, 1st and 2nd position, continue to pick their way through the slower traffic. Perkins has got the wiper going. That's your first indication. The track conditions are going to start to get a little greasy.
So the gap about the same. Mark Scaife over Larry Perkins. A fascinating race, the 93 edition of the Tooheys 1000. Sandy, time for an update.
Yes, thank you, Mike. And all the dramas with the leaders, Scaife and Perkins.
Thank you, Sandy Roberts. And 25 has just pulled in, was running in 6th spot.
There was all sorts of smoke billowing from the back of it as it came into the pits. The bonnet was up. Out come the plugs.
Tony Longhurst behind the wheel.
Been drama upon drama for the BMW squad. 4 of them came up here, and we're at half distance in the race. The BMW's in all sorts of trouble. Throw
Well,
away
maybe,
spark plug.
yes, they've had engine problems, which is just so uncommon for BMW. In the meantime, the race continues with Larry Perkins stalking Mark Scaife. Scaife's been able to respond again.
That gap now 1.3 seconds, so Mark Scaife is answering the challenge from Larry Perkins.
Let's go back down to the pits to the Longhurst camp. Alan Grice is there with Tony.
Tony, what's the problem? I see they're changing plugs at the minute.
We had to run with the cams very limited. It's put 3 cars out now for us. We explained to cams it wasn't compatible with our electronic system, and after an hour or 2 running, it just stops the engine. This one's running on 3 cylinders, So we just got to change the plugs and plug leads, and hopefully it'll be all right.
Well, what's it doing? Is it interfering mechanically with the car, the injection of the car? Is that why they're oiling the plug?
It's got the spark and loses power, goes back and runs on 3 cylinders or cuts it out completely. It's pretty tough. You know, they put weight in the car so we're not competitive, then make us run this rev limiter. We knew it was failed. The scrutineers are standing here. They won't let us disconnect the bloody thing. It's just disgraceful.
Thanks, Tony.
Not in a happy frame of mind, Tony Longhurst, and I guess you can't blame him. He's not the only one that's had this problem with the rev limiters up here this week. Alan Moffat, with his EB Falcon in the qualifying sessions, had exactly the same problem. It was not compatible with the electronic components that he'd bought with the engine from the United States, and had to spend half a day rewiring the whole thing.
Yeah, it's very emotional and understandable. You commit so much money and time and enthusiasm to an effort at the great race, and then somebody bolts on a component and it screws up what is a perfect energetic effort. I mean, the man has a real case, I think, and it should be discussed at length after this race. Half race distance now, and it's interesting to see that that gap has blown out now to 2.5 seconds. We have a 2.5 second gap from Scaife back to Larry Perkins.
That's the number 10 car that you can see there, the second of the Peter Jackson entries, the 35 car of Jeff Brabham and David Parsons.
Surprise, surprise, they just crept into the top 10. Yep, position 10 for car 35, the Sandown 500 winners, David Parsons and Jeff Brabham. We saw them get into trouble on that first corner, but Parsons apparently biffed, which damaged the front spoiler. They had to come in for a very early unscheduled stop. But as so often happens in this race, pushing their way up the top 10. Here's car 16, Wayne Gardner, HRT Commodore. Andy Raymond is on the spot.
Yeah, you can see Wayne Gardner getting out of the car. Bradley Jones getting back in. Wayne really is huffing and puffing. They're changing tyres. They're putting fuel in, and they're going to do the front brakes. They're working on them feverishly at the moment, and they do not want to come off at this stage. TWR Tom Walkinshaw Racing apparently has said the rain is only 10 to 15 minutes away, yet they're still on these, well, they're softer compound tyres. They haven't gone for any intermediates as yet.
Okay.
More news from the pits. Longhurst is out of the car, so I'd say that's it.
25's a no-show.
For the BMW effort.
Dear, oh dear. So another one bites the dust. Car 35 continues on.
David Parsons is behind the wheel of that car at the moment. Look at the
Steve Soper and Tony Longhurst.
Disconsolate looks on the faces of these two guys.
There certainly would be. Steve Soper flown in especially for the event, probably one of the highest paid saloon car drivers in the world. And it's been a long trip and a long week for both of them. So, almost a minute there for the car 16. Was in third position, as we said, rejoins in third place.
They're trying two different compounds. I believe that the 15 car, the Matsira car, is still running the harder compound, and they're trying a softer compound on the Gardner Bradley Jones car. So they're hedging their bets with the rain moving closer all the time. No, it's the other way around. You'll forgive me. I just got that information through in the left ear, and it's not as good as my right ear. Apparently the softer compound is on the Matsira car, and the car Bradley Jones is taking back out is on the harder stuff.
Okay, cars come through Forest Elbow. Let's have a look at the Ford Falcon EB, a car that's struggling at Bathurst this year. 1,300 kilograms of weight, 5-litre V8 pushrod, 2-valve per cylinder configuration, fuel injected with a full electronic engine management system at 7,500 RPM rev limiter, puts out about 550 brake horsepower at 7,000 RPM. Indestructible Hollinger 6-speed transmission connected to rear-wheel drive. And look at the brakes, 14-inch ventilated fronts, 13-inch ventilated on the rear, 17-inch by 11-inch wheels, massive tyre width, 12 inches with 4 tyres. That's 48 inches or 1.2 metres of rubber on the road. A lot of grip and a lot of speed across the top.
Around here, you'd need it too.
Absolutely.
So pushed away. Sad sight for Frank Gardner up there at
12 years BMW has been trying to win this motor race. They came here in 1981 with the BMW 635, and each year they've come quite close on occasions, but never quite cracked it.
Sidelined by a rev limiter incompatible with the BMW.